Welcome to He Did This to Me, the sports podcast from a father and son who happen to be mostly optimistic Knicks, Mets, and Jets fans. My name is Nick, a.k.a. Goody, and with me is my old man, a.k.a. the big guy, Noel. And just like his name, all we do is win. Let's get to the show. It's time to begin. Before we get into it, please give us a like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Me and the big guy, we do this show every single week, and my solo pod, Nick on Knicks, will be waiting for you in the morning after every Knick game. Sometimes we go live, so turn on alerts and come talk with us in the comments. We greatly appreciate all the love and the support. The New York Knicks getting rolling a little bit. 4 straight wins. The most recent win in the desert against the Phoenix Suns. And you and I got to take in the sights with our own eyes. And we got to watch the Knicks put on a masterclass offensively, score 138 points. It was the second time that we scored over 130 in consecutive games. First time we had done that since 1988. First time we had done that in wins since like the 60s, I think 68 or 69 or something like that. And just overall, man, the Knicks look like they are starting to figure some things out. We have done it against some inferior opponents, as well as, you know, the Suns are somewhat injured, but you play who's in front of you. And even though there might be some things to tighten up on the defensive end, offensively, it's the best Knicks team that I've ever seen. So, you know, it's really, really interesting to see, you know, as we say often in this show that we do weekly, what a difference a week makes. And right now it feels like the Knicks are getting something going.
No doubt. They look pretty good. I love what I see. I think people need to, you know, people just get so worked up. As we know, our fan base, the Knicks fan base is rabid.
I was concerned. I was a little concerned at one point.
I get it. But you know what, Nick? I mean, the fact of the matter is, as we know with all teams, you have to calm down. I mean, look, that doesn't mean it's going to work out the way we want it to, but if a coach constantly is going knee-jerk and jumping around based on what the fans feel, he's going to be sitting right here with us. So I think he's going to be making I think we're doing well. Yeah, sure. When they're not winning, we all get concerned, or when they're losing really tough games that are really distressing, that bothers everyone. But I think they're coming around. What I'm still hearing is people screaming Huck Porty over Sims. Although I have to say, I think Sims has been playing better lately.
That chatter has died down too over the last week. It's just as far as like from what I see,
because we're winning.
And not just because we're winning, because well. Sims is playing better. Yes.
Yeah, and that might be, somebody in the Knicks organization lighting a fire under his ass. I don't know. Whatever it is, he's playing better. Gotta love the way Brunson's playing. I mean, the light chatter at the start of the year about how he wasn't looking good was foolishness.
Nonsense.
I mean, no, exactly nonsense. He's been playing really well, and his assist numbers are just sterling. They're
up over 7. I think he's averaging 7.3 assists right now. He's averaging over 25 points a game, and he has now gotten his 3-point percentage up above 40% as well.
You know what I'm saying? And he's his numbers in assists, I would imagine, and I'm just guessing here, in the last 10 games, his assist numbers have to be up over maybe almost 9.
Absolutely. The last 3, he has had double digits right. In the last 3 straight.
Right. So I'm very impressed with that. What's his name seems to be finding his stroke totally, Mikal Bridges. And he's gotten rid of that foolishness from the start of the season, which
no more hitch.
An absolute waste of time.
No more hitch. Right now, his overall 3-point percentage is way below his career average, but he's been, shooting in the 60s from mid range. And I mean, with him, we're gonna see him hopefully get that 3-point percentage higher up. But with him, what you see is it's just wild how consistent he is. He's going to have between like 14 and 18 points on around 50% shooting, couple dimes, and a couple rebounds. It seems like every single game. He has those couple games recently where he's gotten up into the 20s, and obviously as Knicks fans, we would like to see more of that. But for him, really, the key is the thing that I've talked about before and will continue to talk about with this team, but specifically with him, which is the consistent intensity on the defensive side.
No doubt. We need that from him, but man, our man OG looks flipping great. He looks fantastic. He's playing, so aggressively, defensively, and just getting things done, man. He's a beast out there. I love what I see from him. And Josh Hart, more consistent with the jumper, and just a rebounding and all over the court maven, man. Listen, there's nobody right now who I'm like, yeah, he's not up to par, blah, blah, blah. I love what I'm seeing from Campaign. He comes in, he delivers the hard foul, he makes the occasional slingshot sideways three-pointer. It's so ugly, but it goes in. It goes in pretty consistently. So that's all that really matters. So, yeah, and I'm loving everything I see. These next few games on the road are going to be a test, especially that game next Wednesday in Dallas. That should be very interesting.
Good chance we won't see any Luka in that game, though. He's got a hurt wrist. He's out for a week.
Oh, really?
He's
I
out
didn't
for
know that.
Yeah, he hurt his wrist. He's out for at least a week. And yeah, when you look at Brunson, like you said, there was a lot of people there was this chatter about him not playing well when his numbers were still, it was basically his numbers were exactly the same as last year. He had lost like 1.5% in field goal and like 1.5% in 3-point, and he was down from 27 point something points down to 25 or 26 point something points, which, as we know, if you watch this team, it's different. The ball moves. It's not as much just give it to Jalen and figure it out. And it's going to be one of those things that you're not going to be able to really even understand and have a gauge on averages until much later in the season, because every single night there's a different guy getting it done, and nobody out there is trying to get their shots. Everybody's trying to move the ball, and they're just trying to get the correct shot as a unit and as a team. It's beautiful to watch. So much fun. I haven't seen a Knicks offense be this good. Like I said, those 90s offenses weren't good. That Melo with Amari, that offense was okay, but it was a lot of isolation. This is so beautiful to watch. You got all the picks back door when there's no true big man on the floor. I'm not even gonna say Cat's not a true big man. He's just one that demands that you have to follow him out to the 3-point line. And you see what that opens up for not only Brunson and his driving lanes, but those cuts back door specifically by OG and then also by Mikal Bridges. Now, Josh Hart, another person who does a great job of cutting too. And with OG, you see him where it's like, I look at him now and I try to think of like guys that he's reminding me of on former championship teams. And right now I feel like his ceiling is like Scottie Pippen and his floor is like a Sean Marion. You know what I mean? Like the guy that can stick that three, that can cut, that can play good defense, guard multiple positions and everything. But I think that he should be better than Sean Marion. Sean Marion had a very good career and did it for a long time and was an important piece to that Dallas team. And OG can play that type of role for us, maybe just giving us a little bit more on the scoring end. He clearly has done some work. He is pulling up like that pump fake and relocate and from above the break three. He's so good at shooting that, and that's a very, very tough shot. He's shooting the mid-range a little bit more. It's a little bit line drive, but it goes in. And he's actually not even hitting the corner three at the like the typical percentage that he does in these last few years, where he's one of the best of it in the league, but he's still hitting it pretty well. I just OG, keep him in bubble wrap. Every time he goes to the ground, I get terrified. He's always he was reaching for an ankle, Achilles, calf area, and then the next game I see he's got a sleeve on. I'm glad that we got a couple days away. Let OG chill. Then we go to Utah, high altitude. Maybe that'll help him heal up or something. I don't know, but we got let
chamber or something up there. Put him in the chamber,
some sort of chamber, something, man. But Karl Anthony Towns, the big 27 and 12. He's shooting 55%, 50 from behind the arc, and 85% from three. He's just been fantastic. It's offensively, he's a 4-level scorer. He has the entire bag. His ability to handle, his ability to make those passes, those over the head, they kind of look like old school, like Bill Walton type passes that he's making. And then also the thing that's different about him, and if you want to compare him specifically to Julius, his aura. He's just got an aura of happiness and niceness and hoping that, everybody does their thing. He likes calling Jalen Brunson Cap, something I know Julius would never do. Julius is playing well. Julius is scoring at a more efficient clip than he's ever scored before. There is compilations of his defense in a Minnesota uniform.
Shaky.
And now him and Gobert are beefing.
Yeah.
Have you caught wind of this?
Did you see the clip with him and Gobert where Gobert walked out
One
of the
of
lane so slow he got the three?
Yeah.
3 seconds?
That
was awesome.
Gobert had his man under the basket. He had his man under the
He had
basket.
some little guy on him.
Some little guy on him, and he had him under the basket.
Like, give me the ball.
Not sure why Julius didn't decide to give him the ball right there, but Julius
didn't get his requisite 7 dribbles in. I mean, come on. He cannot release the ball and that whole aura thing, Nick. Come on. You're only stating what has been stated about your man for a couple of years now. That dour personality, we all try to embrace it, but now that we're out from under, we can honestly say, oh man, feels a little
a little lighter.
Oh, yeah,
as we know, Julius can be
feels like that.
A very polarizing figure. Okay. I thought it was interesting the other day, some of the things that Alan Hahn was talking about when he was talking about the differences in this team as far as just the vibes. He was talking about Campaign, who, again, I can't believe I like Campaign.
I know.
Campaign. I like
Campaign. We do.
I like Campaign. He's just got a little, he got a little dog in him. You need a couple guys on your team who are kind of assholes. And he's kind of
He will slap the shit out of somebody's wrist and forearm. Something that nobody else does. He will slap the shit out of you, and I love that sometimes.
Him. I feel like him and Josh Hart are the only real assholes we have on the team.
Oh yeah.
And
Mikal Bridges is not stepping on anyone's.
Mikal Bridges seems like he's the nicest guy ever. Mikal Bridges seems like the guy you want to marry your daughter.
Everybody.
Yeah. He seems like he's the nicest guy ever. And he's still got some silly celebrations and whatnot, but when he's doing them, that means that he just did something well. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with if it's right after you make a 3. And Campaign, like you said, with the slingshot. But he was talking about Campaign, who is a guy who's been in a lot of different locker rooms because he's moved around a lot. The fact that he talked about how the camaraderie in this locker room is great and how guys are very much just they're for each other and it's just a good vibe and a good place to be. And then Alan Hahn said, as recently as last year, there was some more factions within the locker room and there was different cliques. Got to be the Nova clique and the Julius clique, it would seem like. And how he said specifically, Julius Randle, even though we have a lot of positive things to say about him, his mood was something that on a daily basis, you never knew what you were going to get. Oh, yeah. And you could see that out of Julius, obviously. We saw that as fans over the years. There was times where Julius was Mr. Jovial and whatever, and there was times where he was, slapping clipboards out of assistant coaches' hands and flipping out on refs and shit. So
I can absolutely see how you come into the locker room and you're like, yo, Juju, what's up, brother? And Julius is just sitting there with his head down and he just looks up and you're like, oh, shit.
We got bad Julius today.
We got bad Juju.
Bad Juju today.
And Julius does, he's on a surly one and he's just like, and it's like, oh, man, damn, we got to walk on eggshells now. Julius is pissed.
Right,
and man. Cat every day is happy. He's got some merengue music playing. He's laughing. He's smiling. He's dancing in the locker room, and he's dishing and moving the ball lightning quick. I mean, Nick, I cannot tell you how much of a joy it is just watching this guy and watching how we move the ball. And listen, we just keep getting better defensively. We got reinforcements coming back. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling positive.
Yeah, so, Precious Achiuwa should be back any day now. Deuce, they say, is a true day-to-day, though, with the Knicks. You always get a little nervous about how they report on their injuries. It looks like when those guys come back, then you really kind of lengthen out this rotation a little bit. I think that second unit defensively is going to be our real anchor and be able to, where we come out, we just kill you with offense with the first unit. Then a second unit comes in, they just clamp you down. And then, that's where we get an advantage right there. And then it'll also, especially when Mitch gets back, that second unit will be getting those second chance points, which, obviously even more just demoralizes teams. I really think that's what it's going to be, because I don't think we're going to see a change in the starting lineup, especially with what we're seeing on offense. All those backdoor cuts that we're seeing, that's not happening with Mitch on the floor. It's just not. If he's down there and he's manning that paint, you're not going to be having that paint wide open and allow the lane to be so open. So I don't think we're going to see a change in the starting lineup personally, but I do think that defensive and that second unit, and then Tom Thibodeau will mix and match throughout the season depending on matchups and what makes the most sense. Kolek and Dadier, they both look competent. Sims, like we said, has been getting it done. His defensive ability, his ability to move his feet. He's, finishing a little bit more. It seems like, he's had some highlight reel dunks and alley-oops this last week or so. So it seems like everything's moving in the right direction. One thing that I picked up during the game, I remember seeing Brunson flip out during one of the the breakages in play. I guess it was a timeout. And he was flipping out, getting after the refs. And I almost thought he was going to get a tech, but he did not. People got in between him. But I then found out afterwards, shout out to my man CP the Franchise and Alex over on Knicks Fans TV. And they were showing how Brunson's sister came and gave a little bit more, color and a little bit more details on the situation. Did you catch any of this at all?
No.
So Royce O'Neal in that game set a hard screen on Brunson, pushed him straight to the ground. Absolutely, positively should have been called a foul. I don't understand how, and it happened right in front of the ref too. It's kind of crazy.
Right.
Again, he continues to get the most unfair whistle for the level player he is that I can remember. But anyway, going back to when Brunson was on the Mavs in that series where he had his look at me, everybody knows how good I am moment when Luka went down. That was against Utah when he had those back-to-back 30-plus games. I think one of them he might have even had a 40-piece. And during those games, Royce O'Neal was on Utah. And I've now seen the clips. In the span of one game, there's one hard where Brunson's trying to box him out and he just shoves him to the ground, and two other picks, something similar to what we saw in the Phoenix game, and another play where he's setting a pick on Brunson, and they're crazy dirty. He only gets a call on a foul, I think, on one of them, and Brunson's fired up in that moment. So they have a history, those two. So that's why Brunson got so angry. The best part about it is I've seen another breakdown online where the next 4 possessions, Brunson goes and does a screen with Royce O'Neal's man and seeks him out. Hits 2 fadeaways, takes him to the rim, gets fouled, and just I love that, man. I love that. I love that he got angry like that. And as you know, Brunson, he's a little guy. He's not gonna do no dirty shit, no cheap shot shit. But he's just okay, all right, word. Let's handle this between the lines and let me show you what's good. I love that about Brunson. I love that he's got that dog in him. I'm hoping that the refs get a little bit more, just pay attention to him. My God, when we were especially watching it in person, Dad, when he's dribbling the ball up the floor and they put one of those bigger guys on him. He's getting smacked and slapped up 3-4 times before he gets across half court sometimes. Luckily, we are finally doing the thing that I've been screaming for since last year, which we are starting to set some more screens for him. I mean, I've seen everybody from, Cat's doing it. Josh Hart's doing it. I saw Campaign set a screen for him in the backcourt. Get these motherfuckers off of him a little bit and let my guy breathe.
No doubt. They've definitely been, all over him and trying to be physical with him. And listen, I agree with you. I'm happy that Brunson comes and cooks the guy for a while afterwards, but we still need to feel Sims can be that guy, but I need to run that guy Royce O'Neal into a very hard pick that may be called an offensive foul, but send a message.
I'm hoping Precious is that guy. But
what's his name? Jericho can be that guy. He sets hard picks anyway.
Well, listen,
intentionally. But do it purposely to a guy like this. That's all. He has
set a couple picks in the last week that have been bone-crushing picks. And right. But he needs to do that more because that's going to make people think a little bit, think twice about how they guard Brunson. And one point that I wanted to make, piggybacking on what you just said, as far as them putting the bigger wing on Brunson, which is what people are doing. We saw this kid who was drafted in the first round because of his defensive ability, Ryan Dunn, get a lot of minutes on Brunson. And, as we know, Brunson with his 36 points and 10 assists that night, nobody could stop him. And, he loves the desert. Brunson loves the desert. At one point, he hit I think 14 straight threes, between last game and this game. And at one time, the Knicks were 13 of 15. You and I looked at it during the game because we were just have we missed? But amazing. The point I want to make about putting that bigger guard on Brunson is what that leads to is now OG gets to post up that other point guard who now you want to park him on OG. Okay, watch this. And OG gets to post that guy up. OG is 4th in the NBA in points per post up at the moment. And then the other thing that's helping OG with that is those cross matchups where I noticed this during the Nets back-to-back games. In the second game, we had OG on Cam Johnson almost exclusively. And then Cam Johnson. I'm always with the Cam Johnson, the Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas is the one I'm talking about. The small guard. Yes. Cam Johnson is the taller guy with the jump shot. With the jump shot. Yeah. He's cut his hair short now. So Cam Thomas, because of the cross matchup where he's guarding him, now on plays where he's not involved in the play and OG gets to just run out, now that guy has to stick with him, and OG was taking him straight to the block and abusing him as well. So I think that's what's leading to OG getting so many points in the paint off the post ups.
I love the way we're reacting to the different things that the defense does. We're actually playing, I mean, obviously, what so many people say that Tibbs doesn't know how to coach offense, obviously that's been dispelled, right? He's coaching offense. We're making adjustments. We're doing well. We're doing well. And I think we'll continue to grow this season all around. I'm just very happy with the way the team's growing. But,
Is
again,
it
like you
Tibbs?
said,
Is it Tibbs or is it personnel? Because if you look at just
I
last
think
year as
it's
compared to
both.
this year, when it comes to offense, and I'm not saying it's not Tibbs. I think that Tibbs has definitely evolved as a coach and become a better offensive coach. But just looking at last year, we have 10 games all last year where we have over 30 assists. This
Right.
year, we already have 8 of those games, and we are averaging 27.7 assists per game. I don't know if that's necessarily that Tibbs all of a sudden figured something out, as opposed to we just have the personnel to run that free-flowing movement 5-out offense now.
Well, but see, Nick, though, last year, when they wouldn't move the ball enough and we were screaming they're not moving the ball enough, you would say, or people would say, oh, well, Tibbs needs to tell them, listen, either you do this or you sit down. I don't think Tibbs is telling them anymore now to do it, and I think he was telling them then. But people always say that, oh, you tell them to do this or they sit down. Well, the replacement isn't better, okay? So it's not just so easy in any sport to just say, oh, you're not doing well, sit down. Well, the next guy, we're going to have a little drop-off there. Right. So, we have much better personnel now. And absolutely, one of the main guys touching the ball, namely Cat, is moving the ball very quickly. And everyone has to do it if he's doing it, and even Brunson is moving it more quickly. Because when one guy sticks the ball, other people have a tendency to do the same. It's just, I think, human nature. And I think what we're seeing now is everybody moves, keeps moving. I love it. I love it.
Josh Hart, man. What a perfect
player.
name for that guy, because he pumps life into the team and into the city. And now that we're seeing him get confident with that jump shot and it's starting to drop with some more regularity. And one thing that I thought about was, remember when he first came to the Knicks from Portland and his jumper looked amazing? He came over and he had a terrible percentage in Portland, but then his first few months with the Knicks and then in the playoffs, it kind of fell off a little bit. That felt like a mirage back then, the way that he was shooting. This year so far, it does not feel like a mirage at all. No. It feels like he's just put in the work, got a little bit better, got more confident, got more comfortable. All that nonsense that was being talked about in preseason, him not knowing his role and him not taking shots and blah, blah, blah. All that was, just like Brunson was like, exactly. He's like, yeah, he's going to be saying something. He's got to say something all the time. I just love what I see from him. And he's just the perfect player to wear that uniform, to wear that number for that in that uniform. He's just so perfect for it. And he's just a fantastic basketball player. And when it comes to going coast to coast and finishing a layup with a layup when you're running full speed, other than LeBron, there's nobody better at it in the entire league than Josh Hart.
Yeah, he's amazing with that. Really, really goes to the hole well. And he just defies gravity at times and really just does a good job of laying it up soft on the glass. Coming at the rim at a top speed.
Either hand, body contorted, whether he just caught a pass or he's dribbling it or taking it himself, it doesn't matter. It's unbelievable.
Fantastic. And the guy just plays hard every night. He gives it his all. We have to love him as fans. But, he's a funny guy. He's a great personality, too. He obviously keeps the team loose. And, look, man, the guys on this team clearly, genuinely love each other. I saw somebody posting earlier because they were saying DiVincenzo is not happy. Let's try to trade for him and bring him back. Not going to happen, obviously. I think there's actually a rule that we couldn't do it even if we wanted to, because we just traded him. We couldn't trade to get him back within 1 year. I think there's some rule like that. But it doesn't matter. Like somebody was suggesting, ship McBride and Sims and get him back and get Dante back, maybe even a draft pick too. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And you know what? We've moved on for that. I'm sorry, but listen. Everybody wants to, always cry about the people that are gone. Like a lot of people crying the blues now about RJ, and RJ's playing really well. I love it for RJ. Let's go, RJ. But you know what? I'm kind of moving on from that too. I like some people seem like they followed it. Oh, I'm really proud of him and whatnot. I'm happy for RJ, but I wouldn't say
I pay attention to former Knicks,
but
I
I
always
don't
pay
say
attention to what
things
they're
like
doing.
I'm proud of him.
Well, I don't know about proud, happy for them, yes.
I'm happy for him, sure. You know, he's living a good life. Good for him. He's a good guy. Proud of him?
So yeah, I don't know about proud of him, but like, so Josh Hart, first, one more point I wanted to make about him that I love is that he is one of the few guys that I see that really holds himself and his teammates accountable. Like he'll get in their ass when he feels like they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. He's had a couple moments with like that with Sims here recently. And then also, as far as Ragu, I don't know. I did a quick search, but I'd have to dig into it more. I don't know if we would not be able to, bring him back if there's some sort of rule against that.
Would you lose McBride and bring back?
Not for Deuce. Just because
he'd have to go.
Yeah,
you got to give him something good for him. Who are you giving up? Who are you giving up for him of any value besides say Jericho Sims? He'll be the throw-in. But who are you giving
give me
up
Sims and some picks. I don't know if that's what you could get him for.
Sims and picks.
His numbers are so far down right now as compared to what you were looking at last year when he was with the Knicks. I mean, his percentages and everything are so far down.
If you trade for him and keep a wing, now you're overloaded. You got to give somebody up.
There's nothing wrong with being overloaded. There's nothing wrong with having, more players at the end of the bench that can actually play. We saw that last year, and I would love to bring Ragu back if possible. I would love to
bring Ragu back.
I would love to bring him back if possible. I love him, and I feel for him, in this situation. Now, I won't say stuff like I do feel for him as far as just how this all played out and everything. And he's now, and a team that he doesn't seem like he's as happy. He doesn't have all his boys there, and they're going through some tough times. RJ worked them last night, and they lost to Toronto, and
Julius
hated that, and RJ's doing his thing, man. RJ's balling, and you know what? RJ needed to be on a team where there was more dribbles for him, because he's not. OG is a better fit for us, and RJ was a better fit for them. That worked out best for both of us. And when it comes to, I was looking at this the other day. I was thinking about this, and so I started looking at it, and I put them in chronological order. So you sign Brunson, then you trade for Josh Hart, and then re-sign him later. Remember, there was some Cam Reddish hive. Cam Reddish hive. You give up Cam and a first for this guy, and then when we signed him for $20 million per, people were like, "Oh my God, $20 million per!" Then you go and you sign Ragu to that tiny contract, and then you make the OG trade, which again, there's a whole lot of people that were like, "You can't give up quickly and RJ for this guy. Oh my God, Then you do the Bridges trade. You send over, a bunch of 12th graders. You see Bogdanovich is still not playing. So he would just be doing nothing and giving us nothing at this point.
Right.
And then you sign Campaign, another thing that a lot of people were like, Campaign, myself included. Then you make the Cat trade, which many people like myself were initially like, oh no, but even a lot of our Knicks fans who came around on that quickly.
So upset.
Oh, I was so upset. Even a lot of us who came, so were you. So were you.
Initially I wasn't thrilled. I wasn't upset with you.
No,
but you love. I didn't like that.
There's so much footage. So much. There's so much footage of us talking, and you talking about how that you I don't want this guy, this and that, blah blah blah. And I was sitting right next to you when I was sitting right next to you when it happened. You were furious. Okay, we were both like, what?
I didn't have the love for Julius like you did, but I'd come around, and I was believing with going in with this team again. I couldn't have been more wrong.
Right. And you know what? Like I said, think about everything that signed Brunson, trade for Hart, sign Ragu, OG trade, Bridges trade, sign for Campaign, Cat trade. Leon don't miss. Leon had 2 epic misses in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, and he ain't missed since. Right. He ain't missed sense. All right. So we just got to obviously continue to trust in Leon. He's, given us a fantastic product, and let's go to Utah, take care of business. And, then if we can split those next 2 games, there's a chance Joker's been out with personal reasons for quite some time. Trust me, he's my best player, the best player in the league on my fantasy team, and it's killing me right now. But yeah, he's, so we might miss him as well. We'll see what happens. But, I really want to see us just finish this trip strongly, And then you get to a point in the schedule where it starts to ease up a little bit. We had a real tough start, starts to ease up a little bit. We get our share of home games, and then, hopefully we can be looking up and having a record that reflects how we've been playing recently. Because right now we're number 2 offense, and then the defense, that's a little out in the teens. I think even maybe in the low 20s. But what I think people are going to have to get used to is their typical Tom Thibodeau. Hey, we're number 1 or 2 in defense, and then we're okay in offense, and then that ends up having us be a good solid net rating. That you most of the time teams that win championships, they're top 5 in net rating, and I think that we can get there, but those two things might be inverted.
No doubt about it. I definitely see that. I think that we're making strides in the proper direction, and with everything that's going on with these other teams now, we just have to stay steady. We have to stay strong, and listen, man, everybody's going to have their ups and downs. Hopefully, we've gotten a lot of those out of the way. But I like you said, man, Leon Rose has done a fantastic job. He continues to amaze and just make sober decisions, which I love. I saw somebody actually make a post the other day that you heard your man is back in the league. He just signed a contract with somebody.
Alfred Payton. He had a pretty good game last night.
And somebody
he's
saying
with the Pelicans.
We blew it with Alfred Payton. And I'm like, really?
I see that person's just trying to troll. Nobody feels that way about Alfred Payton. Come on, man. Come on.
There's some people out there who like Alfred.
There's not many. There's a very small amount of people.
I doubt that there's
who
many,
the Alfred Payton hive is very, very small. It's not. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of people out there clamoring for him. Yeah, I wouldn't even. Yeah, it's just a small gathering. It's a pot. There you go. Yeah, man. Listen. A week from now, we have another week where we go 3-4-1 or 5-2 or whatever between, and we'll feel good. But if we go 2-4 or 1-3, we'll be like, so we'll see how it goes. But at least the Knicks are giving us something to be positive about, unlike our New York Jets, who continue to be an embarrassment of an organization. This week, they fired Joe Douglas, who seems like he wanted out as much as the Jets wanted to get rid of him. Yep. And then all the stories come out about Woody's meddling and, how much he involves himself in all these different decisions. And it's just, it's not a good look anywhere or however you look at it from top to bottom. The Jets just continue to be the same old Jets, and the product on the field sucks. The perception off the field sucks. The Jets suck.
Yeah, it's an absolute and total shit show. There's no other way to look at it. The Woody stuff now is very distressing. He's a friggin' banana, and he just, he won't leave it alone, man. I mean, dude, you have to know that you seem like, and everyone perceives you as a meddling stooge right now. No one is looking at this saying, well, no, I did read one guy say, hey, well, what did you want Woody to do? If you owned a team and things were going on like that, you would have fired Salah and this guy too. No, I wouldn't have. If I would have done that, I would have done it before the season or after the season. I think it's clear to see that doing it with Salah when they did it was not good. I don't think the Joe Douglas thing is going to show any results on the field going forward, but I just don't think it helps the team to do this right now. I think you could have started your search and everything knowing you're going to do it because Joe Douglas knew he was gone. I don't see any issue with starting your search now, even if Joe Douglas was still here, right? So it wasn't like, we needed to fire him so we could start looking. Same thing with coach search. All that stuff can be done behind closed doors and get stuff done. Nick, the other thing I think that this says to me is I'm more convinced than ever. I had some people try to tell me that definitely Aaron Rodgers was the reason why Salah got fired, and he was in on all of that. I never thought that because it just didn't make sense to me that this guy, he disliked this guy enough to want to get him fired, but every other word out of his mouth is talking about how he loves the guy, but he wanted to get him fired. I think this is all Woody's deal, man. I think Woody decided he wanted to fire Saleh, and now Woody decided he wanted to fire Joe Douglas. I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to fire all these people because he has to know that new people are going to get brought in, and that's going to change the landscape of everything. And I don't think clearly that's not what he wanted. He wanted a landscape that he designed and everything with his people and everything, and clearly that's all going to change. So I don't know how this shakes out. I don't. I think no matter what, Aaron Rodgers is a bright man. And I think if Aaron Rodgers thought that he could do those Machiavellian things and machinations behind it and it would work out well, then he's not a bright man. And I don't believe that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, come on, man. No one could have thought to do all this and okay, it's all going to work out. And next season, everything's going to work out the way I want. No way. He's fucked, man. The whole team is.
Yeah, the whole team is fucked. And when you look at it, there's what has happened. What really sucks to me is what lies ahead, because I don't think that we're going to be able to have our pick when it comes to coach, GM, and coordinators and whatnot. In fact, I think there will be some that will specifically say, no, thank you. I don't even want to explore that option. Okay. Especially the ones that have the plethora of options in front of them. And when you look at the team and you look at where we need to go, I think that you go GM and then coach. But some people, it's funny. I read an article the other day saying that, you pick a coach and then you have a coach handpick his GM, which I think is kind of foolish. I think it should be the opposite way, or at least like maybe almost kind of like you're interviewing and bringing them in as a tandem, and then asking them about working with each other and their philosophies of the type of team they want to build. I don't know, especially when it comes to GMs. I have no idea who like the next hot GM candidate is. Right. I have no idea at all. But really, at this point, man, you start to wonder whether or not we can become a successful organization with Woody at the helm. Unless Dolan goes and has some sort of intervention with him and says, hey, guy, trust me. Get you a person that you trust and just give them the keys and let them do their thing. Because remember, this is the same thing we said about Dolan. Meddles too much. He's always, making himself the story and interjecting himself. And behind the scenes, he's saying, I want this. How he, went out and just totally demanded that the Melo trade be made when it was and all that. I don't know. For some reason, ever since he's got Leon, we don't hear from the guy. He's in the background. The only time you hear from him is complaining about the fact that the NBA is making all these games nationally televised, and people like the Knicks who have all this money are losing out because of that. That's the only time you hear Dolan talking about basketball. Other than that, he's in some smoky lounge, singing the blues.
Or maybe complaining about, Oakley being out front banging on the door or something.
But even that feels like it's a little bit further away. I feel like we're even like getting far removed away from that a little bit. Oak ain't banging on no door. Oak though, they don't, Oak don't want to come back. He's disgusted. I don't think that those fences ever get mended. But
no, especially not if you keep sniping at our man Pat. Okay.
Right.
You're not getting back in the door that way, Oak. Come on. It's just
not gonna work. Pat's back on the payroll now this year.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
no.
Right.
You're not getting back in, and that's something that I've always not liked about. He stood up for Pat on the floor when they were teammates, but when they haven't been teammates, that's not the first time he's had a comment or two that was a little bit disparaging about our guy Patrick Aloysius Ewing. Yeah, man. When it comes to the whole Joe Douglas situation, I don't see what sense it makes to get rid of a general manager at this juncture of the season. It doesn't make any sense at all. It just makes you look like a dumpster fire organization. And I'm telling you, man, it's going to be really hard. This next coach that we have and this next GM that we have, it's obviously such an important decision, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to be our first pick for either of them. And I know your guy, he's not hiding it in the slightest. Your man, Sexy Rexy, he's out here lobbying for the job heavily. I know that you're a proponent of that. I feel like that's a same old Jets move. Going and retreading with a guy who you fired 15 years ago, but he surely has put it out there and made it very clear that he not only wants, but thinks he is the man for the job.
Rex has the passion. He has the knowledge. I think Rex will learn from his act before. But in any case, I'd love to have a guy who wants the job as much as him. I don't want a guy. I think you said this before. I don't think I necessarily want a guy, Nick, who hasn't been a head coach before. I don't want a guy who this is his first head coaching opportunity. No, I don't want that. I can't. No, there's too much at stake here. And as far as the whole head coach, GM, chicken and egg, I think that. Things have changed. Okay, the way you're thinking is about a little bit more of an older school org chart, which is the same way I'd see it. But nowadays, some people want to hire a coach, and some coaches want to have a lot of say, if not control, over that roster. You know, and the GM is really a guy who we can commiserate and talk on personnel, but you're going to have to be like the capologist and make all that work and make these trades work, which I actually thought Joe Douglas was good at. Joe Douglas actually got good value when we made trades, Nick. Some of these trades where people thought we'd get nothing for. I don't remember, and we got some value back in these trades. We got fantastic value for Jamal Adams. Okay, we just crushed him in that trade. We got good value for some of these other guys we traded too. I forgot. But anyway, we need somebody who can do all that. Listen, I think Rex would be good. I think Aaron Glenn would be good as an alum, but again, inexperience. Okay, never been a head coach before. I don't know who all these other head coaches are, any with experience that we could get besides maybe Vrabel. Okay,
Vrabel's the big name that a lot of people are floating.
I didn't know Vrabel was working with Cleveland.
Gruden is the other name that
I don't want Gruden.
And Rex named him specifically when talking about.
He said, "Come on, seriously, come on." Get Gruden out of here.
He's been a coach. He's been a coach in the NFL more recently than Rex Ryan has. I don't want Gruden either. I don't want Gruden. I would be okay with Vrabel. I don't know, man. I don't like the coaches that like do really well, like that they get fired and then do really well in a second stint. There's some of those. They exist. There's not a ton of them. I think Vrabel is a good example of a guy that I'd be excited about. I'm sure. Listen, if we got Rex, I would think same old Jets, and then I would, convince myself that it's all going to work out and hope that it will.
He'd get you pumped up.
Oh, listen, that's Rex. Rex can command a room. Okay, he can get some blood flowing and get everybody fired up. And that's for sure.
If you're not all in to play like a Jet, he's going to jettison you out of that room.
Okay, that I like. Keep saying that, but sometimes we gotta, that whole play jet. Like a Jet thing. Let's talk about the end of his tenure
like
and what did play like a Jet mean then when we were the crazy undisciplined team, and Rex was looking like he was a little bit confused.
But we made it to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row.
And then
REX.
And then it went downhill from there. But listen, we'll see how it all plays out with the Jets.
Give me a little
it's not like when he left the Jets, he had a ton of success either, in Buffalo. And I'm sure I forget where
city. They suck, except for the anchor bar.
As far as the AFC East is concerned, and as far as going out and giving the Chiefs their first loss last week, and Josh Allen being an MVP front runner, I think they're doing okay.
Nick, listen. Check the tape, brother. First 2 weeks of the season, I'm telling you that Buffalo looks really good. I thought they looked really good early, and I still think they do. Josh Allen looks fantastic. They're coming on at the right time, man. I mean, think about, last year, they made that change at offensive coordinator at just the right time, and that's clearly worked. Another thing I said was this guy, Stephon Diggs. I thought he'd be better off without Stephon Diggs. He's better without Stephon Diggs. Okay?
Yeah, I don't believe
sometimes I think he's better because he's playing smarter. He's not forcing it down the field to one person.
His career took off when he got Diggs.
I know that. And Diggs was good for him. Now I think he doesn't need that. Nick, I've always been a proponent, like I've told you, that the shiny receiver, unless everything else is going well, doesn't really do anything, just like Devontae Adams hasn't added a thing to the Jets. Okay, because and by the way, that's another pet peeve of mine with Rodgers is why those two seem to be so not in sync at times. It's mind blowing to me. Okay, because they've been together for 20 years and they don't know whether to turn right or left. What's going on? So I just don't. The big time receiver, all that does nothing for you if you ain't doing it up front. We got to get back to we got to figure out our offensive line. We got to get a better offensive line coach. We got to draft young offensive linemen. Stop getting these retread old offensive linemen, and let's just build from the bottom up, man. That's all we can do. That's all we can do, Nick.
If you're feeling the content or you think we are two loathsome, offensive brutes and yet you can't look away, give us a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. Make sure you subscribe and or hit that notification button on YouTube or wherever you're listening. Mets are going hard for Soto, it seems like. That's what everybody says. Not really too much to report on that end. We're basically awaiting his decision. So are all the rest of the hitters in the market. And my question for you is this. Would you be like a little bit disappointed if he just ends up going back to the Yankees? And like we've seen before happen with the Mets, the impression is that he kind of like used us for leverage. Is that something that would, bother you at this point?
No, because, Nick, wherever he goes, if it isn't to the Mets, some Met fans are going to scream, especially if it's with the Yankees. Oh, he just used us for leverage and whatnot. Yeah, he uses every team for leverage. That's
no, I don't see. I don't think that. I don't think. I mean, he's the reason that the reason if you go out and you are already with the Yankees and you go out and you entertain the Mets and the most powerful and the richest owner in sports, and then you just end up going back to the Yankees for a little bit less even than the Mets would have given you, then I think that's the scenario where you say he used the Mets for leverage. If he ends up coming over to the Mets and he signs with the Mets, no one's going to think that he used the Yankees for leverage.
No, I'm not saying that, but he may use the Mets for leverage, but I don't care. What difference does that make to me? I mean, if you're a player and you're an agent, why wouldn't you do that? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I would absolutely. Why wouldn't you? That does. I hope he doesn't. I hope he comes to the Mets. But if he goes back to the Yankees, I'll be bummed, but I move on. And I almost would rather. Well, I don't know. See, I don't think he's going to go to anybody but the Mets or Yankees. I don't see him leaving and going somewhere else. If he doesn't stay with the Yankees, I think he's coming to the Mets. If he doesn't stay with the Yankees and goes somewhere else, that would surprise me. Again, it wouldn't piss me off. I mean, it would just piss me off because we didn't get him. But you know what, Nick? I get tempered by things like, I was a little upset when we didn't get Yamamoto. And although Yamamoto was good at the end last year, he wasn't great all year, where it was like, oh, man, this guy's lights out. But he was good. Yeah. He was good enough.
He's okay.
Who was the other big signing last summer? Shohei. And Shohei, we'd love to have had him, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'd be a little bit annoyed if we're still that team that's being used for leverage. Because but it's not like something that I would be, I'd be up in arms about. But at the same time, when you say that, whether or not you think that you basically feel like he's going to go to one of the New York teams, if he ended up going back to the Yankees, just like you said, I wouldn't be upset. The one that would annoy me is if he ends up somehow going to the Dodgers. That would annoy me. That would annoy me a little bit. Yeah. And the Dodgers plan on speaking with him. And it's just like, at that point, it's just like that. Or I know that the Phillies want to talk to him as well. I obviously don't want to see him go to the fucking Phillies.
If he goes to the Dodgers, the commissioner needs to step in. What's happening here? What's going on?
Yeah. Speaking of Philadelphia and the Phillies, the intro to this is that the Mets beat the Phillies and knocked them out of the playoffs. So that whole entire city is just, reeling at that point, because all the shit that they talk about the Mets, I lived through 2007 and 2008. It felt so good. That's what really made the season house money for me. People said house money after we beat Milwaukee. No, after we beat the Phillies, that's when it was like, okay, because that's something that I will always hold in my heart, the joy of beating the Phillies and knocking them out of the playoffs, especially with all of the, attention and a lot of people saying they're the best team in baseball. And, we didn't just knock them out. We, 3-1, get out of here real quick, nice and easy. So I love that. And now we have the Sixers, who have started off 2-12.
We beat them in the playoffs. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Knicks knocked the Sixers out. And honestly, at the Sixers as a franchise, Dad, they're another Eastern Conference franchise, so there's a little bit. I didn't really feel like there was a huge rivalry between the Sixers. I didn't have that hatred for the Sixers until that series last year, and specifically how Joel Embiid conducted himself in that series. That's what really got me to a point where I was like, I can't stand these guys. And so now with them starting out 2-12, with their big three only playing together for 3 quarters before Paul George sustained a hyperextension in a knee bruise or a bone bruise or something like that. Now they're saying that he's going to miss at least the next 2 games. Some people say it could be 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
And then you have the Shams report within minutes of the conclusion of a team meeting where you have Maxey getting on Embiid about his tardiness, amongst other things, and his lack of professionalism. You have Embiid choking reporters. You have Maxey with the hammy, but now he's back. And then I just got this report that, as we're doing the episode, Joel Embiid is out tonight versus the Nets.
He doesn't want to face Ben Simmons. Yeah,
that knee in that last game where Paul George got hurt. Embiid had to leave that game and had to come back, and he was all gimpy and whatnot. Yeah. He's not right, and it's not going to get better. He's a massive human who's old, getting older. It's not going to get better. He's just going to consistently be injured and beat up, and that entire thing now is just looking like such a failure. And Daryl Morey, he mortgaged the future for a bunch of oft-injured older guys, and they're now sitting at 15th in the Eastern Conference.
I mean, think about what he did, Nick. He brought in James Harden, which was an absolute disaster there. Didn't they have Ben Simmons before that?
Yeah, they drafted Ben Simmons. They drafted Ben Simmons. And Markelle Fultz.
Right. Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz they drafted. And by the way, I just realized.
Top picks, by the way.
Yes. And you know who they could have drafted instead of Markelle Fultz? Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. That alone should get you fired. And then what's happening now? Embiid, I think it's to the point where, Nick, they have to. I mean, seriously, I think they're playing him these 1 or 2 games every now and again just to see. And they say you can't get in basketball shape unless you're playing basketball. Listen, man, this guy's not ready to be on the court. Okay, I don't know.
Think he should be working out more in the meantime?
I think he doesn't need to be on the court. He doesn't look to be ready to be on the court, Nick. He's not. And shaping up, and his knee is too bulky. He's got to get stronger. They got to do drills. He's got to be on the Gravitron. He's got to be doing something.
The Gravitron?
Like one of the Gravitron? Oh, that Gravitron's like what we used to call back in the day, call a jumper, where, it's like this, and you used your knees and whatnot. But, no.
Gravitron, a Gravitron
is mantle-bound bullshit.
Yeah. Gravitron to me is like a weed-smoking device.
No. There's a Gravitron in gyms. Come on.
Okay.
Come on, let's clean it up. This guy, he needs to be in the pool. He needs to be like running sprints in the pool or something, Nick, to get some of that, some of that resistance, that softer resistance, some sort of soft tissue work. He needs.
I'm just saying. I just Googled Gravitron, and before you get to any type of workout equipment, you start getting into gravity bongs.
Well, okay, but you see, that's only because I'm older, and I'm saying, that's some old Mandelbaum.
It's a carnival ride.
Right. Okay. There you go.
Gravitron workout machine.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Anyway,
I don't know what you're saying, but anyway.
Okay, don't worry about it. Google don't know everything. But no, listen. The deal is this: this guy. He's not ready to be on court, Nick, and they're going to keep putting him out there on court. He's going to get hurt more severely. Then he's going to be out for the rest of the year. I'm telling you that's going to happen. The guy, he's not ready to be out there, man. And, he's just he's not ready. And, I think, if he's going to be on time, he needs to be on time to those workouts or whatever, or his therapy, PT. The fact that this guy has to call you out, and the fact that report came out seconds after the report.
That's the thing, man. That's the thing.
On, man.
And I saw Paul George and Embiid talk about it afterwards. Clearly we got, and it's like, that's a problem right there.
Right.
That means that somebody is like, this dude needs to be put on blast, and he needs to happen immediately.
Right.
And obviously that person has no respect for any type of locker room code or anything like that.
Nope. Not for him. Hey, listen, Nick, I don't know who could have made that call. Clearly it wasn't Embiid, right? And we don't think it was Maxey, right?
Why do we know that? Why do we think? I don't know.
I don't know, though. That's what I'm saying to you, Nick. It could be somebody as integral as even Maxey or even Paul George.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it was Paul George, because
now they want to feel like, I can't believe this happened. And meanwhile, they're dialing up Shams on the back line.
Excuse me, is this Shams? No,
yeah.
Yeah, man. Listen, that to me
Shams, this is PG.
I don't think it was Paul George. One guy I don't think it was like just because of his comments afterwards, but whoever it is, yeah, man, that's that just speaks to. Are you just going to say every Sixers player's first name in the last initial?
What's that guy? McCain, the rookie.
No, man, but which he could play. He's a baller. He's good. Yeah, man. I just,
It's ugly.
I just don't see it getting better because, at
Nope.
some point they're going to make somewhat of a run, but
Nope.
specifically the fact that they are clearly fractured within that locker room, I think that's something that definitely smells smells a little fishy in Philly, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
not
Oh,
going to be. It's not
rough
going to
from
be a
the head
good
down.
season for them and a good ending from them. And percentage wise, teams that start 2-12, it's a very, very, very uphill battle to be able to get into the postseason, and none of them win a first round series.
I predict a battle to get to the postseason. It starts looking good. Maxi's doing well. Embiid comes back. He, has a couple good games. Then he gets hurt. He's down for the rest of the season. Everything goes badly, and they run off the cliff into the ocean. What I was going to say, something about the Sixers. The Sixers, the futility that they've shown, and with this guy Morey, I think he's done a terrible job as GM, especially in the last few years. I don't know why he holds such strong sway over that organization. Why there isn't more, people just like get him out of here because he's been terrible. And they're not a well-run organization. I just don't think they're well-run, and I just don't think they have the best players at the lead position. You see the difference with like JB at the lead position. Not only is JB just a good, solid guy, he's a steady guy. He doesn't. You're not going to have a lot of bullshit being said by this guy.
Right.
No, you're not going to have no silly bullshit that gets in the way from JB. It's not going to happen. This guy, you knew it was going to happen, and he's just, I don't know, man. Some guys
Even when the NBA, conducts a witch hunt on his father, he still, keeps it cool and takes care of business. Which, by the way, that whole thing with the NBA and Rick Brunson, it's ludicrous. I don't even want to give it any time because it's so absurd. And it does seem like, because of, some of Dolan's ways that he's dealt with the league and whatnot, like there seems to be somewhat of a witch hunt. I don't know if maybe, hey, when I see things like that, Dad, you know me. I'm a card carrying conspiracy theorist. And when I start to look at things and I say, like, all right, man, they're coming after this guy for taking over the spot of somebody who left and went somewhere else, getting the exact same salary, and a guy who has been with this coach at multiple stints and has been an assistant coach in the NBA for over a decade. And somehow, some way, they feel like that needs to be investigated. When I look at some of the ways that I feel like we aren't officiated, fairly, it starts to make me think, like, is there more to this? I don't know, but it's kind of seeming like, there, like I said, there's a witch hunt out there, when it comes to the Knicks.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. Like you said, let's move on.
I don't know,
witch
man.
hunt. It's a stupid investigation.
Stupid investigation on the heels of us getting fined for tampering with Jalen Brunson. I just, I don't know. See, I don't hear a lot of these other stories around these other organizations. Maybe we're just riding dirty all the time, and Leon just bends the rules.
Cheating, you ain't trying. Let's go. We'll take the fine.
The New York Giants been in the news quite a bit this last week. They initially benched Daniel Jones, came out and said that Tommy Cutlets would be the starting quarterback this year. Drew Lock wasn't too happy about that. It seems like they were trying to stop Daniel Jones from possibly getting injured and them having to play a clause in his contract. And then Daniel Jones comes out, has this emotional speech where, he's basically thanking the Giants. That's on the heels of him playing fourth string safety in the prior practice. And then he comes out, he makes the emotional speech. He talks about his time, talks about his love of the game, and then today he gets cut. So Daniel Jones will be moving on with another team. I'm sure he'll get picked up as somebody's backup. He's definitely shown that he's at least competent enough to be that. But I've seen so many different takes on this from Giants fans. People saying we never really gave him a chance. So many people saying that we never should have drafted him, that Todd McShay, video of him talking about the pick and criticizing it after it happened. That's been making the rounds quite a bit. He definitely hit a home run on that one. He said exactly what he is and what he was going to be and why the Giants would regret it. I've heard people say that, hey, they invested in him instead of Saquon, and look what Saquon's doing. What's your take on everything that we've seen from the Giants this week and, Daniel Jones eventually, parting ways with the team? And do you think that the Giants overall, did they handle this correctly?
Well, clearly they didn't handle it correctly. I mean, I don't know anyone who could say that they handled it correctly. No one's saying that. They overdrafted. I mean, they went too high for this guy. That was what's his name? Hog Molly's that guy. He decided to jump up to get this guy, and he wasn't worthy of that sixth pick in the draft. There's no way. And I've always thought Daniel
and so many
Jones,
people felt that way in the moment.
Yes,
That's
yes,
the thing. This
absolutely.
is not revisionist history.
Exactly. I actually think you know what, Nick? If you put Daniel Jones on a decent team with a good running game, and you keep him about 15 to 22 passing attempts a game, he could be Mark Sanchez with better legs.
Sure.
Okay. So, but he's got to be on the right team. If you ask Daniel Jones,
I think Sanchez throws a better deep ball than him, but
I don't know, man. Daniel Jones throws a really nice deep ball. But anyway, if you put him on a team where you're asking him to go above and beyond, you're asking too much. Then things get a little shaky. I don't know that he can run anymore after that neck injury. Can he run and take?
that's
as much
huge,
hits?
man. You break
That's
your
big.
neck, and
That's
like,
big.
yo, everything is different now.
That's right. That's
Come
right.
on,
And
man.
it's a game of Jenga. Your whole spine is a game of
Right,
Jenga now.
right.
And anything can happen. So I don't know, man. I mean, maybe
Mentally,
take your
that
money
seems
and
like it would
ride
be a
off.
tough one to come back from.
That's
as well.
right. That's right. Very tough. And I don't know if he ever had to have one of those things with like the things in his head or whatnot. But Jesus, if you have to have one of those, holy smokes, I could never play football after that.
Yeah.
But I don't think they handled it well. I think it appears to me that when he gave this whole speech or whatever statement yesterday, he knew he was going to be released today. So that's
Sure.
why he did that.
Sure.
Like some people say, oh, why did he do that? Why didn't he wait till he was released? He knew he was going to be released. That's
And then
why he did
after you're released, what do you like schedule your own press conference? You're not on the Giants anymore. So
Right.
I don't know exactly how
Right.
you do that. So
Right.
yeah, I didn't really get the criticism of him. If anything, I found it somewhat endearing when I watched,
Yeah.
him talk.
I
felt for the guy. Obviously, he seems like he's a great dude.
Quality
and
guy.
we'll see what happens with him on his next stint. The Giants going back to that draft. I mean, everybody felt that way. And then you also got to the position after that draft where you had a clear decision that you were either going to pay him or Saquon, and you chose him. That was the thing. That re-upping him at 40 per. That's the thing where it's like,
you put him in a terrible position.
we already saw that this guy's not that guy. It's not.
No,
this is not the time
40
to
per.
do that. It's not the time to do that. And the Giants are paying for it now. He didn't seem like a guy that, once again, the Giants overdrafted him. And when they overpaid him, it's not like if Daniel Jones would have gotten out on the open market at that point, everybody would have been clamoring and for Daniel Jones want to throw a bunch of money at him. No. So now the Giants, as
I don't think anybody would have paid him more than 40 mil.
No, and as we know, when you miss on quarterback, and then you continue to exacerbate that by having blind faith in this guy when he's not giving you anything to show that you should have that faith, it can set your organization back for years. And now the Giants will be looking to get a quarterback this year. They'll be looking to put themselves in the draft position, but then Cutlet's just off a guile and I don't know, marinara sauce, he might be able to win a couple extra games. And now you're in a worse draft position because of that too. So that's another angle of this as well. Hey, honestly, I'm a little bit thankful that, especially with all the New York sports talk radio that I listen to, with the Jets doing what they're doing, and even in the bye week where I was hoping to not hear too much about them, that the Giants are stealing a little bit of headlines in the tri-state, and we're getting to hear about their futility along with the Jets' futility.
No doubt about it. And I think Tommy Cutlets right now they're really going to give him a tryout for, are you going to be our backup quarterback going forward?
Right.
Can we rely on you for that? Do we have to just ignore a guy like Drew Lock? Because listen, we know what Drew Lock is. He's a waste. And he'll only be put in the game. Well, I mean, he's not going to do anything for you, Nick. He was brought in because of $5 million this year because, they didn't depend on Tommy Cutlets coming into the season, and they weren't sure that Daniel Jones would be able, if he'd be healthy enough coming into the year. So I think that, they'll get a shot now. But, like you say, Nick, when you make a mistake at quarterback, then you try a fix and you try these different fixes. After a while, man, you have to rip the Band-Aid off and start again, because ultimately that's what you're going to have to do. Getting back to the Jets, I just don't think the Jets ultimately are going to go far with constantly picking up retread quarterbacks. We're going to have to draft a good quarterback. And I say start right now. Every year draft somebody till somebody's good, till we get somebody decent. I don't know what this kid Jordan Travis is. I hope he's good, but I still want to draft somebody next year and let him compete.
Yeah, I don't know. I think obviously I think that has to do Has to do with all of those. It has to do with what do you think you can be next year? Are you at the top of the draft where you're drafting like one of these guys, or you're drafting somebody now in the second, third, fourth round where it's a real project? And then also, what do you think you can do with Jordan Travis? I think all of those things. That's why, to me, it's like get the GM in sooner rather than later, the new guy,
Right,
so he can start figuring all these things out and figuring out a game plan, and we can go into this. And I'm getting to the point where the Jets, where they're going to have to do a lot to get me excited. I'm just going to have it's a wait and see. Understand? It's a wait and see, mindset when it comes to the Jets. But we'll see.
How about you get the band back together? You bring back Rex. You bring in Mike T for the GM position.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And then
no,
you bring in Aaron Glenn as your defensive coordinator, associate coach.
No, Mike Tannenbaum. I could figure out a way to get to wrap my mind around the Rex thing, but Mike Tannenbaum's had a couple chances, and he's on TV talking. He's doing the same thing that we are. Basically, he's just getting paid more for it and then doing it with better production. But other than that, yeah, but but Rex has more. I think Rex just has more overall success in the league, I as far as just his different stints and what he's done. Absolutely, that's too much. And bring in Rex, and I would be happy with Rex if Rex added like give me some Bart Scott as like my linebackers coach. Which I think Rex's next stop, that's going to happen. I think Bart Scott is like intimated that almost a little bit.
They're very close.
They're very close, and he said
Bart Rex ain't gonna take no shit.
Exactly.
If shit's not working, Bart's going to start breaking things.
Exactly.
And I like that. I love that in my linebackers coach. Let's
go. Exactly. Well, come on, Jets. Give us something, guys. Give us something,
please.
All right. So next up, we have a little recurring segment that if you have been following for the last 18 plus 6, that's 24. So that is the last 8 weeks. Yeah. Three picks against the spread over the last 8 weeks. We did have a down 1 and 2 week last week, but overall you were 18-6 against the spread. I mean, if you guys like making money, you got to be checking in weekly to this segment. It's a little segment that we like to call the Big Guy Locks. All right, big guy, who you got this week?
All right, so interesting week. With some interesting picks here. I actually think I'm gonna take our man Tommy DeVito and the Flying Chicken Parms plus 6 against the Bucks. Is that what you see as a line?
Yeah, that's what I see.
Okay. I think DeVito's going to get some lightning in a bottle and do something a little special. The fans are going to be going wild there in MetLife, and he's going to catch some lightning in a bottle. Wow,
I like that. I love picking the team after the quarterback change.
Yeah. Sometimes they get that spark, man, and you'll get them all pumped up. Maybe bring in some of mom's cooking for pregame.
Some cutlets.
Some cutlets, exactly. Some cutlets.
Nobody's mad at a tray of cutlets.
Oh, no, it's not a tray of cutlets. I love cutlets. I think I'm going to go with the Vikings at Soldier Field over the Bears. I have them as 3.5-point faves. What do you have?
Vikings. Yeah, plus 3.5. I mean, sorry, minus 3.5. Minus 3.5.
Right.
Sorry.
So I'm laying the 3.5, going with the Vikes over the Bears. Sorry, Caleb. He continues to have trouble, and that Viking defensive line should be able to make life a living hell for him. Next, I think this is going to be an interesting one, but I think I'm going to go with the Cardinals -1 over the Seahawks in Seattle. I like that. That's a tough one. That one's got me leaning both ways. Actually, scratch that. I'm going with the Eagles. Give me the Eagles over the Rams. I like the Eagles over the Rams. I think the
Eagles minus 2.5.
Yes, I think the Eagles are kind of rolling now. I think they're doing pretty well. The team, the running game, Saquon, backwards jumping. Let's go. Eagles over the Rams.
So we got Giants plus 6, Vikings minus 3.5, and Eagles minus 2.5.
That's right, brother. You got it.
Those are this week's big guy locks. I mean, listen, you hang out with this guy, you just gotta let some of his luck and some of his know-how just rub off on you a little bit. Your boy hit a little parleezy, a little same game parleezy at the Knicks game the other day. Basically, everything goes right for the Knicks parlay. Fifth and last leg was Mikal Bridges needing one more bucket. So that gave us something to cheer for. It's the first time that I was ever not screaming for Tibbs to get the starters out in a blowout because I wanted Bridges to get that bucket. So that same game parlay at 20 for 740 could hit. And your boy got lucky that night. It was a good one, a good night on many fronts. And shout to the CEO for the tickets. Yo, shout out to the CEO. Awesome tickets, awesome night with you, big guy. And man, it's a Knicks season that we can look forward to. It's a Jets season that we can try our best to forget. And it's an off season for the Mets that should be very, very interesting.
That's right. Let's go. I like it.
Catch us every week on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. Please follow, like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that notification button on all platforms. Really appreciate all the love. You can find us on all socials at he_did this to me. Love you, big guy.
Love you, kid.